The 16th president of FEW was Dorothy Nelms. This was Dorothy's second time serving as national president. Dorothy served from 1996 to 1998.
I find, first of all, there were some big differences between the two terms. One, I was a lot older the second time. The first time I was in law school while I was national president. The second time I was a full-fledged lawyer while I was national president. The first time the issues for women were much clearer. I think women were just becoming more aware in 1978 of the discrimination against them. I think women were more concerned about how this was impacting their careers. And I think they were looking for something to say there's a way out of this. And that's what FEW kind of provided. And so in 1978, we were coming at women from a different perspective. And the women looked at us in a different kind of way. This is something we really need, and therefore we're going to join. And FEW was a rallying force for women, such as women fighting for the Equal Rights Amendment and women fighting discrimination in their jobs, and etc. This time around, I think women have pretty much, by 1996, recognized that although there is discrimination, there are a lot of options to take care of it. There's the law, there's policy, there's procedure, which kind of diminishes the effects of discrimination. I think in 1996 and 98, the government was not as stable as it was in the 70s. And a lot of people, including women, had on their minds more security. How can I keep my job? As opposed to how can I advance in my job? The big issue was, will I have a job? And so you have more women concentrating on how do I remain in employment? What can FEW do to assure me I won't lose my job? And that's a very difficult question for an organization to face. You can't do that. So some of the issues we dealt with were designed to focus on that. For one, we took a very strong position against contracting out in the federal government, because contracting out certainly reduced the number of positions available for federal employees. And so we were saying, don't contract out. Use the people that are here. Instead, they let them go. They'd get hired by private contractors, but they wouldn't have the benefits that they had with the federal government. So that was one of the issues that we fought, which we tried very hard to convince women that this was something they needed to help fight with, and the more people, the better the fight. We also took a strong position on pay equity, to make sure women got equal pay in the federal government as well as in the private sector. And we were also working hard to diminish the effects of rifts, reorganizations, and etc., because we felt they impacted strongly on women in the federal government. So that's what our main focus was in 96, 98, to try to increase people's security in their jobs, to make them feel their jobs were more secure, and to see what role FEW could play in helping to feel more secure. Because the government had really reached a very unstable kind of level, you know, and reorganizing, budget cuts, layoffs. And so we had all these fears, which certainly said to people, well, discrimination is way down on the list. I don't care what they do so long as they don't fire me, you know. And so we had to deal with, hey, discrimination is here, you still have to fight it, even though times are hard. Like we would fight to make sure that RIF is a reduction in force, didn't actually affect women more than it did men. Another thing we realized was that we need a lot more money to do some of the things we did. So we established a fund, a FEW Educational Fund, which was designed to help us raise more money to provide more educational opportunities for women, on the assumption and the knowledge that the more education you have, the better chances you have of retaining your job, the better prepared you are to take advantage of opportunities that might come your way. So the Education Fund was to help us raise more money and to provide better training for members of federally employed women. We had a tough time with it because we really needed somebody with fundraising experience to take it over, and we couldn't find anybody right away. So that was one of the big struggles in my office, to get this FEW Educational Fund off the ground. Right. During 96, 98, we had a lot of internal issues we had to deal with in FEW, which kind of overflowed to the membership. We tried to diminish the impact on the membership, but it happened, and we worked very hard to overcome some of that. But I think we came out a little stronger organization for helping to submerge some of those internal issues and in strengthening our legislative activities so that we could work with Congress, which impacts very heavily on what happens to federal employees. When I look back, I think of 96 to 98 as two very busy years. And I guess the biggest thing that stands out is the Few Educational Fund. And we created a task force, and I can't think of the name of it now, but the idea was to have a dynamic group of creative people who would come up with issues that faced FEW and ways to resolve those issues. And this task force used to meet regularly to come up with solutions, and they did quite a few things. We reorganized the FEW. We established a fund, as I said. We set up a lawyer referral service for people with discrimination complaints. And so that task force was very helpful to come up with creative, innovative ideas to improve the organization. And it's not just sufficient to have one woman stand up and say, boy, that's terrible, don't do that anymore. You need us all over the federal government standing up saying that. You need us all over the federal government questioning what's going on. You need us all over the federal government saying that wasn't right. I'm not taking that anymore. And that's why I say you need to join Few to be another set of feet, another set of hands, another pair of eyes to help fight discrimination.